Rink Wide Vancouver. Pre-game, post-game, every game presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play at bodog.net. Wadden and JPat back once again with you with another edition of the pregame show as the Canucks get set to face against the Islanders. And, a familiar face on the other side.
Yeah, you think the storylines don't write themselves for this one? Out of Manhattan, into the burbs, or the boroughs, I suppose. UBS Arena, Canucks and the Islanders, it's the Bo Show. Bo Horvat and Anthony Beauvillier facing their former teams 10 days after the monumental trade that will shape the Canucks, we think, for the next little while here. But in the meantime, these two teams on a collision course tonight, and Canucks coming off the 4-3 loss to the Islanders. Tocchet wasn't happy post-game. There were a number of players he thought had to step up, and we'll see if the message gets through to them. And for the New York Islanders, they just want to keep on keeping on. They're playing well. They've won 4 in a row, including the first 2 with number 14, Bo Horvat, in the uniform.
Let's get to the lineup change, which is presented by Delaney's OK Tire out there on Fraser Highway in Langley. Expecting a change in goal because of the back-to-back, but maybe some fresh faces as well in the blue line?
Yeah, no morning skate with the back-to-back, so we'll have to wait until closer to warm-up time to find out exactly, first of all, who's available to Rick Tocchet and his coaching staff, and then what do they decide to do with this lineup. I would anticipate that Colin Delaney gets back in goal. He has delivered both of the wins under Rick Tocchet so far this season since the coaching change against Chicago and Columbus, and he also picked up the single point for the overtime loss the other night in New Jersey. It was Spencer Martin last night in goal against the Rangers, so I would anticipate that Colin Delaney gets the start here. And then, there are some decisions. Luke Shen, a bit of a question mark. Looked like he was laboring through the third period last night. Didn't play an awful lot, under 5 minutes of that third period. Quinn Hughes, we'll find out about him. He came back with the bubble on, but we'll see if there were any after effects from taking that puck in the face. Of course, the Canucks have some extra defensemen. They've got Kyle Burrows and they've got Travis Dermott. And I just wonder if even if they had a full complement of healthy defensemen, if Rick Tocchet wouldn't want to take a look at some other guys on the back half of a back-to-back third game in 4 nights as well for the Vancouver Canucks. So, we'll probably have to wait until closer to warm-up to find out who's going to go for the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
Speaking of the new head coach, Rick Tocchet, he's finding out right now that this Canucks team perhaps aren't playing the way that he would like them to.
Yeah, we hear it every game. Wants to win all these board battles, and that's fine. You do have to win your share of battles along the wall, but there's also a lot of open ice in the middle, and that's where a lot of the skill guys go. And so he seems to be really drilling down on this winning along the wall. And last night didn't like what he saw and named a couple of guys, including Andrei Kuzmenko, whose ice time was limited to just 12 minutes over the hockey game, and just one shift. In fact, he was out there with the extra attacker in the late stages, but barely played over the second half of the third period. So we'll see if Rick Tocchet gets through to players like Kuzmenko and others. It's pretty clear, though, if you don't play the way this new coach wants, you are going to have to face the consequences, and the consequence last night was reduced ice time.
Now, they might have had a week off leading up to this 4-game road trip, but 3 games, 4 nights, that's pretty tough on anybody.
It is. Now, in the New York metropolitan area, no travel, so that makes it a little bit easier, but we know that the Devils, that was a back-and-forth game, up-tempo, probably coming off a break for a lot of these guys that were on the beach during their week off, trying to find the pace of the game. Last night, certainly the Rangers tried to stretch the ice, and there were some back-and-forth opportunities. Now you go up against an Islanders team that really, they like to grind. They don't want to give you much in the way of open ice. I think this is going to be a battle. And so, 3 games in 4 nights, again, for the Vancouver Canucks. Single point in New Jersey, a loss last night, so they haven't won coming out of the break, and we'll see where they are mentally as a hockey club. And again, some of those guys that didn't perform last night, they should take it upon themselves to raise their battle level for this one tonight.
Shift the focus to the Islanders now. They're 2-0 with Bo, but they're 4-0 in their last 4 games.
Yeah, and so I think that makes it easier for a guy like Bo Horvat joining a team that's playing well and playing the way it wants to play. The Islanders have an identity. They don't score an awful lot, but they don't give up much either, and so they try to grind you down, and they've done a nice job of that on this 4-game win streak. And so I'm sure they see a Vancouver Canuck team that kind of comes limping in, playing 3 and 4. The Islanders played back-to-back out of the break. They beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia and then shut out Seattle 4-0 the other night. Horvat scored, and I'm sure that was a relief for him just to get the first of what he's hoping is many, but he didn't want this to become a week or 2 weeks wondering when was he going to get that first one. The first one's out of the way. It was his 32nd goal of the season. That's a new career high for Bo Horvat, so everything from here on out is gravy as he tries to track down the 40-goal mark, and then ultimately beyond that, we'll see what he can do. And absolutely know that the Islanders are going to try to set him up to get one against his former team tonight.
And the goaltending for the Islanders is a strength of theirs as well. Allowed just 2 goals over the last 4 games.
Yeah, just stop and think about that for a second. We talk about a 4-game win streak. They've given up 2 goals in those 4 games. So when they're on, they're on. And right now they seem to be in a groove, and that's going to be a challenge for a Vancouver team that, scored 4 against the Devils and did manage to get 3 last night. So the Canucks have offensive weapons. I'd like to see them do a little bit more to draw some power plays. They've only had 1 in each of these first 2 games out of the break, and I want to see more of the power play from the Canucks just to see what it looks like without Horvat and if Beauvillier remains in that bumper spot. But whatever the case, the Canucks are going to have to work to earn their keep against the Islanders, because right now, this New York team, they're drilling down defensively and they are giving up next to nothing.
Yeah, and they're still below the playoff bar, but they're feeling pretty good about themselves, obviously, with that 4-game win streak.
Yeah, they are tied with Pittsburgh and a point back of Washington, so it's on. They're right there in the mix. The problem for the Islanders, and one of the reasons they made the trade when they did during the All-Star break, is they've played more hockey than those other teams that they're battling in with. So those teams have games in hand. Now, got to make the most of your games in hand, but the Islanders sensed, I think, the time was starting to tick away a little bit on their season, so they made the deal. As we said, they've won back-to-back with Horvat, 4 in a row overall, and they have put themselves right back in the mix to be a playoff team, but they do reside under the playoff bar, at least for the time being. They can change that with a win over the Canucks tonight.
Yeah, and the hope for New York was to improve the power play by acquiring Bo Horvat, because it's been dismal this season.
Oh, my goodness. Since Christmas, 8.7%. 8.7% for the Islanders. So a Bo bump would be welcome for sure. And it'll probably take a little bit of time for him to settle in. And obviously every team does things a little bit differently, but we know how dangerous he can be in that bumper position. They've dropped him into the middle of the ice. And now it's a question, can the Islanders work the puck around to get it to Bo Horvat in those open positions to make the most? Because when he's got the puck on his stick, he is dangerous. We've seen that all season. But if they fall short of the playoffs, pretty good chance that the power play may be a part of that. So there's some pressure on the new guy to make things happen when the Islanders have the man advantage.
Let's get to the stat that stands out. It's presented by Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
Well, you alluded to it, goaltending. One guy in particular, and it's the guy the Canucks are going to see tonight, Ilya Sorokin, back-to-back shutouts. So the team has given up 2 goals in its last 4 games. This guy hasn't given up a goal on his last 61 shots. He shut out the Detroit Red Wings before the break. He was in there for the goose egg against the Seattle Kraken the other night. He's got 5 shutouts on the season. When he's on, and he is in a groove right now. So 61 consecutive saves. Yeah, that's a stat that stands out for me. Brought to you by Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
Now, I was in a bit of a groove with my Bodog Best Bets, falling off a little bit over the last couple games, but I'm feeling really good about this one. And honestly, I think Vegas knows it as well. I've got Bo Horvat, anytime goal scorer at plus 110, almost even money there. He's got 32 on the season. Of course, he's going to want to tally one against his old team.
This just feels like the lowest hanging fruit.
Yep.
I think the entire National Hockey League is expecting that Bo Horvat is going to score against his former team. Now, the Canucks will do whatever they can, and they know some of Bo's tendencies and his tricks, but this guy will be motivated. And I just get a sense that there's going to be a hunger on the part of number 14 tonight. And again, I think the Islanders are probably going to go out of their way to try to set him up and do whatever they can to put him in positions where he's going to have opportunities to score. So I like this one, and I'm pulling for you because I'm pulling for Bo. Again, results don't ultimately matter to the Vancouver Canucks at this point. I just think for a good storyline, it would be nice to see Bo Horvat light up his former team.
We got some Bodog bucks to give away. That is $50 of them. Here's what you got to do. You can post your time in the period below here on YouTube in the comment section, or head over to @RinkWideVan on Twitter. And all you got to do is guess the game-winning goal, the period, and the time the closest to is going to take home those 50 sweet Bodog bucks. All right. The best time of the pregame show is right now. Who is going to do something in this game?
Well, I don't know if he's going to do something, but I am curious to see if Andrei Kuzmenko responds to having his name called out essentially by the head coach. Now, Rick Talkin said post-game there were 5 guys, and somebody questioned, was Kuzmenko one of them? And he said, yeah, he thought he was spinning too much last night. And it wasn't a great game. There wasn't a whole lot happening for Andrei Kuzmenko. We saw him a healthy scratch in Boston back in November. I don't think it's going to get to that under Rick Tocchet just because the Canucks don't have extra forwards on this road trip. But how does he respond? This is a new coach and a new voice, and these two are trying to sort of learn about each other and figure each other out. So I am curious. Kuzmenko didn't play much in the third period last night, didn't have a whole lot going on, but tonight is a new night, and he is the guy that I'm looking at. How does he respond to some criticism, some pointed criticism from the head coach? Scored the night's goal in New Jersey the other night, so you can't say that he hasn't performed for Rick Tocchet, but Andrei Kuzmenko is the guy that I'm looking at to do something for the Vancouver Canucks against Bo Horvat and those New York Islanders.
Yeah, let's see how the Canucks respond tonight after that loss to the Rangers last night in what is going to be a very emotional game for Canuck fans and their former captain. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide, the show that always scores.